Marked by a tyrant after transmigrating. Chapter 28. Chang Yuan was startled. He immediately wanted to get off the bed, but Yeshu pulled him back. "Where are you going? Do you not want to live anymore?" But Yeshu threw the blanket over Chang Yuan and made a prompt decision. "Hide inside and don't move." He quickly got off the bed and closed the curtains. At this moment, Jin Wang pushed open the door and entered. "Your Majesty." Yeshu stepped forward and tried his best to appear natural. "You're here." A eunuch followed Jin Wang into the room and lit the lights. Jin Wang looked around and asked, "Are you all right?" Of course, I'm fine." Yeshu pretended to be sleepy and rubbed his eyes. "I just woke up. It's so noisy outside." This emperor heard that an assassin escaped here. Jin Wang's expression was calm as he asked, "Did you really not see anyone?" It was rare for Jin Wang to finish his work this early. He wanted to return to Yangzin Palace Hall early to keep his little concubine company, but he didn't see anyone when he returned. Only after asking did he find out that the assassin had come here. He immediately set up a sedan for Changqian Palace. Halfway there, he heard that the prisoner had escaped. Jin Wang didn't want to make it public that Yeshu had escaped, so he didn't imprison Chang Yuan. Instead, he found another palace to detain him in. Who would have thought that this assassin would find an opportunity to escape today when the guards were on duty were changing shift? Coincidentally, the shadow guards found traces of Chang Yuan near Changqian Palace. Could things be so coincidental? Or was this person starting to be disobedient again? Jin Wang's eyes darkened. Yeshu didn't know that after waking up, he was once again locked up in a small black room. He reached out to pull on Jin Wang's sleeve. "Your Majesty, I'm hungry. Let's go back to Yangzin Palace Hall." Jin Wang looked at him for a moment and smiled gently. "Why bother? Isn't it the same if we eat in Changqian Palace?" But Jin Wang didn't wait for him to say anything and ordered, "Prepare the meal." When had Changqian Palace ever had the experience of serving the emperor? All the servants were trembling with fear, busying themselves in and out, afraid that they would do something inappropriate and anger the dragon to his face. Yeshu did not enjoy the meal and his gaze kept drifting to the inner room. Poor Chang Yuan. If this continued, he would suffocate to death. Jin Wang naturally noticed his absent-mindedness. He tilted his head and asked, "Is the food not to your liking?" Yeshu subconsciously wanted to shake his head, but after thinking for a moment, he nodded. "I don't have much of an appetite." He paused and said, "I want to eat the porridge cooked by your Majesty." All the servants were shocked. Previously, there were rumors in the palace that His Majesty often went to the imperial kitchen these days and personally cooked. During this period, he almost set the imperial kitchen on fire 3 times and broke countless pots and bowls. Everyone was guessing which consort could be so favored by His Majesty. From the looks of it, it was imperial concubine and Ben. Jin Wang just put his chopsticks on the table and said calmly, "You're lying." When the servants serving the meal heard His Majesty's tone, they were so scared that their legs went soft and they almost knelt down. Yeshu frowned. "I'm not lying." Jin Wang said, "You didn't even finish the porridge I cooked that day." Yeshu was stunned by this person's unreasonable behavior. "Didn't you not let me drink it?" Jin Wang said, "You didn't like it?" Jin Wang was simply being unreasonable in this regard. It was wrong for him to eat the food he cooked and it was wrong for him not to eat it. It was also wrong for him not to show that he liked it after eating it. But the problem was, it was just plain porridge. No matter how good his cooking skills were, how good could it be? Jin Wang said, "Eat obediently. I'll make it for you another day." Yeshu resentfully said, "Oh," and did not say anything else. He was still thinking about Chang Yuan, who was hiding in the inner chambers. He really did not have much of an appetite and only ate a few small bites before he could not eat any more. Fortunately, His appetite was sometimes good and sometimes bad after he became pregnant, so this was not considered abnormal. Jin Wang really did not force him. The two of them quickly finished their dinner and the servants cleared up the table. Yeshu once again urged Jin Wang to return to the imperial bedchamber. What's the rush? Jin Wang sipped his tea and pointed outside the window. It's snowing so heavily. Won't it be cold outside? Yeshu looked out the window. The sky outside was dark and snowflakes floated in the dark night accompanied by a biting cold wind. It looked like it would snow for the entire night. Even the weather was opposing him. Yeshu did not change his tone and continued to persuade, we'll take the sedan back. We'll be there soon. It won't be long enough to feel cold. Jin Wang did not reply. He waved at Yeshu. Yeshu walked over and was pulled into Jin Wang's arms. Jin Wang stroked his hair and said in a gentle voice, why do you want to return to Zhen's bedchambers so much? Isn't it good for this emperor to accompany you here on your own palace? Yeshu was stunned for a moment before he understood the meaning behind Jin Wang's words. Back at Yangzin Palace Hall, the imperial consort and imperial concubine Anben would serve His Majesty together. But here, only Anben would be favored. Yeshu's expression froze on his face. He had indeed come here today to prove that Anben was favored, but this dog emperor did not need to cooperate with him like this, right? Did he mean that he wanted to spend the night in Changqian Palace? Yeshu's gaze unconsciously swept towards the inner chambers and he felt a chill run down the back of his head. He did not dare to imagine what it would be like if His Majesty carried his beloved concubine to bed, lifted the blanket and saw another man lying under it. Would Jin Wang be so angry that he would throw him and Chang Yuan out to be sliced into pieces? He forced a smile and tried to struggle out of Jin Wang's arms. Your Majesty, it's not good for the imperial consort to be alone in Yangzin Palace Hall. Let's. Jin Wang hugged him even tighter and said in a pampering voice, what's not good about it? Isn't this what you want? Jin Wang's voice was low and mesmerizing. When he spoke in such a soft voice, it made one's ears go numb. The servants of Changqian Palace had never heard His Majesty speak in such a gentle and soft voice. They could not help but blush and lower their heads, not daring to look at the two people. Jin Wang's hand slowly brushed past Yeshu's waist. He felt the body in his arms tremble slightly and chuckled, why are you so nervous again? Is it because there are outsiders watching? When Jin Wang spoke, his breath sprayed behind Yeshu's ear. He tried his best to tilt his head, don't move. Jin Wang did not let him dodge and even kissed Yeshu in the most sensitive part of his ear, don't worry, they won't dare to look. If anyone dares to look, I will dig out their eyeballs. The servants hurriedly lowered their heads even more. Yeshu's knees went weak. Jin Wang understood his weakness too well. Or rather, his body could not withstand being bullied by this person. In the past few days, Yeshu had secretly read some books about Omega and Alpha. The books said that after an Omega was marked by an Alpha, he would become extremely dependent on the Alpha and would be unable to control himself. It was completely in line with Yeshu's situation. This kind of setting was really against the rules. Yeshu thought angrily as he collapsed in Jin Wang's arms. Jin Wang lowered his head and wanted to kiss him, but Yeshu managed to maintain his wits and tilted his head to avoid it. Don't be like this. His cool lips brushed against Yeshu's cheek. Jin Wang looked down at the person in his arms and ordered the servants beside him, everyone, leave. The servants naturally knew what was going to happen next and could not stay any longer. They hurriedly left. After the doors to the hall closed, Jin Wang no longer teased Yeshu. He just hugged him and gently stroked his back to comfort him. Relax, I won't bully you today. The pregnant Omega could not help but be teased. Once teased, he would become aroused. Once aroused, he would not be able to eat him. This was torture for him. Yeshu's breathing gradually calmed down. You. Jin Wang looked at him and said gently, Ashu, do you really have nothing to tell me today? Yeshu was stunned. He pretended to be stupid and shook his head. No, no. All right. Jin Wang sighed and suddenly picked him up in his arms. Yeshu exclaimed, "What are you doing?" Jin Wang said, "It's already late. I'll take you to bed." After saying this, Jin Wang directly walked towards the bedroom. Yeshu cried out in alarm, Don't. Jin Wang put him down and asked, "Do you have something to say?" Yeshu braced himself, I can't, the bed is not as good. It's not good to sleep here. No matter, I'll hug you to sleep. Jin Wang smiled, "You always sleep well in my arms." Jin Wang pulled open the bed curtains. Yeshu closed his eyes in despair. A silver light flashed in front of his eyes. Jin Wang seemed to have expected this. His expression didn't change as he leaned to the side to avoid the other party's attack. Chang Yuan held a dagger in his hand and struck down sharply but suddenly changed targets in midair and stabbed at Yeshu, who was standing beside Jin Wang. The unforeseen event happened too quickly. Yeshu didn't have time to dodge. Jin Wang clearly didn't expect that the other party's target wasn't him. He subconsciously moved forward and hugged the frozen youth. In the next second, Jin Wang felt a chill on his forearm, followed by a sharp pain. This kind of flesh wound was nothing to a martial artist. Jin Wang snatched the dagger from Chang Yuan's hand and pressed it against the other party's throat. "Your Majesty, did something happen?" The shadow guard outside the door heard the strange noise and asked. Jin Wang's eyes were dark and ruthless. He coldly looked at the person beside him. After a long time, he slowly said, "I'm fine. No one is allowed to come in." The person outside the door replied, "As your Majesty commands." The atmosphere in the room was so heavy that it was hard to breathe. But Yeshu didn't seem to be able to feel anything. Jin Wang's injured arm hung by his side. Blood flowed down his black robe and bloomed on the floor. Yeshu stared blankly at the glaring red blood. He was in a daze and his face was pale. He was injured. He got injured in order to save him. Jin Wang's face was as calm as still water. He said to Chang Yuan in a low voice, "Outside the door are all my imperial guards. If I give the order, all of you will die. Don't do anything unnecessary." He threw the dagger on the floor and calmly said, "Clean this place up. Don't let anyone find out." Jin Wang tore off a corner of his clothes and wrapped it around his arm to stop the bleeding. He walked over to the dressing mirror by the window and began to search for something. Yeshu subconsciously followed him. The bed chambers were usually equipped with emergency bandages. Jin Wang quickly found a bandage and looked up to see Yeshu standing beside him in a daze. Jin Wang chuckled, "Didn't you faint at the sight of blood? Why are you following me?" After calming down, Jin Wang immediately realized that he had been too impulsive. Chang Yuan would never hurt Yeshu. Yeshu was now in disguise. Chang Yuan's motive was to draw a clear line between him and Yeshu. He wanted Jin Wang to think that he couldn't recognize Yeshu and that they weren't in cahoots. If he didn't do this, he wouldn't be able to defend himself if he appeared in Yeshu's bedchamber. This was probably the only plan that the straightforward personal guard could come up with. But even so, Jin Wang still fell for it. Even if there was only a 1 in a million chance, he didn't want to put this person in danger. Yeshu's face was pale, but his eyes were slightly red. He said in a low voice, I'll help you." Jin Wang sat in front of the dressing mirror and silently watched him for a moment. Then he pushed the medicine forward. Yeshu knelt on the floor and carefully pulled open his sleeve. The wound wasn't deep but it was very long. The blood wound on his fair and slender forearm was a ghastly sight. Yeshu endured the nausea and dizziness that surged up. His fingers trembled as he gently wiped away the blood and applied some medicine to stop the bleeding. "Ouch." Jin Wang frowned, "Your skills are so bad. Are you trying to hurt me to death?" Yeshu said, I'm sorry. I'll help you blow on it. His movements were even more careful and he didn't hurt Jin Wang anymore. Jin Wang used his uninjured hand to support his chin. After Yeshu finished bandaging his wound, he laughed mockingly, I'm really getting worse and worse. Yeshu lowered his head and didn't reply. Jin Wang leisurely said, back then, you sent more than 10 top-notch assassins to assassinate me and I was still able to escape unscathed. Today, I couldn't even dodge the dagger of this little personal guard beside you. I'm sorry. Jin Wang asked, why are you apologizing? Yeshu didn't reply. Jin Wang bent down slightly and lifted Yeshu's chin, I'm asking why you're apologizing. Jin Wang said, now that I think about it, Chang Yuan was imprisoned by me before today, and you had Shadow Guard by your side to protect you. You didn't have the opportunity to plot against me. In other words, what happened today had nothing to do with you, right? Yeshu's eyelashes fluttered, and the fingers that were hanging on his legs curled up. Jin Wang looked into those red eyes and said in a gentle voice. Ashu, I was injured because of you. Does it pain your heart? End chapter. Marked by a tyrant after transmigrating. Chapter 29. Yeshu stared at the handsome eyes that were so close to him. He was momentarily dazed. Did his heart ache? Yeshu couldn't say for sure. He clearly hated this person, but why did his heart feel so uncomfortable when he saw him get hurt because of him? After calming down, Yeshu finally understood why Chang Yuan had acted like that. Moreover, he could tell that Jin Wang had already realized what was going on. The more it was like this, the more uncomfortable he felt. Was this person an idiot? Why did he take the hit for him? Idiot, Yeshu said softly. Jin Wang didn't hear him clearly. What did you say? I said, who's feeling sorry for you? Yeshu pushed his hand away and tilted his head to the side. You fell for such a simple trick. I don't know what you're thinking all day. Chang Yuan, who was squatting nearby and wiping the blood off the floor, was speechless. Jin Wang chuckled and the heavy atmosphere in the hall seemed to dissipate with his laughter. Jin Wang reached out and pulled him up. That's right. You fell for such a simple trick and almost cried. What's going on in your head? Yeshu was speechless. How embarrassing. Yeshu emphasized, I felt dizzy because I was scared of blood. Jin Wang used his finger to wipe away the tears at the corners of Yeshu's eyes. He nodded cooperatively. Yes, if you say so. I believe you. Yeshu was so angry that he didn't want to speak anymore. He got up and was about to leave, but Jin Wang grabbed him. Jin Wang pushed away the things on the table and placed Yeshu on the table. His hands naturally supported him in front of the table, trapping Yeshu between his arms. He gazed at Yeshu's watery eyes and said softly, Ashu, I'm very happy. Yeshu's eyes flickered. First, you didn't conspire with anyone else and stopped planning to escape. Jin Wang's voice was extremely soft, like a small hammer gently pounding on Yeshu's heart. You can't bear to see me get hurt. You don't want to hurt me. This is the second reason. Jin Wang's hand caressed the back of Yeshu's hand. He placed his hand on it and gently clasped it. He repeated, Ashu, I'm very happy. He said Yeshu couldn't stand Jin Wang speaking to him in such a tone. He lowered his head and looked at their intertwined hands. His heart was both bitter and soft, and he almost wanted to throw away his armor. Yeshu tilted his head, not daring to look at him. He muttered, You're still happy even though you're injured. Doesn't your wound hurt anymore? It hurts, Jin Wang whispered with a smile in his eyes. It hurts a lot. Yeshu's gaze fell on Jin Wang's forearm. He indeed didn't bandage it well. The bandage was a mess, and the bleeding hadn't stopped completely. Specks of blood seeped out of the white gauze. Yeshu suddenly felt a little dizzy. He hurriedly grabbed Jin Wang's hand. Let's summon an imperial physician to take a look. You. No need, Jin Wang whispered into Yeshu's ear. His voice was low and soft. It won't hurt anymore if you kiss me. Ashu, I'm injured because of you. He paused for a moment, then added, I haven't been injured in many years. Yeshu's fingers trembled as he held Jin Wang's hand. Jin Wang was the ruler of a country. Even if his body was slightly unwell, there would be a group of people rushing to take care of him. But now, not only was this person injured because of him, he was even concealing the truth for him. Jin Wang had a tight grip on his weak spot. Yeshu's face was inexplicably hot. His voice was a little hoarse. Then you, close your eyes. All right. Jin Wang closed his eyes. Yeshu took a deep breath and raised his head. He had been kissed by Jin Wang many times and he had taken the initiative many times as well. But those were all just for show. It was completely different from what he was feeling right now. The other party's lips were slightly cold, and as soft as he remembered. Yeshu didn't have time to think about where this subtle feeling of loss of control came from when he was interrupted by footsteps behind him. He subconsciously pushed the person away, but when he turned around, he saw Chang Yuan's panicked expression. Chang Yuan was standing not far behind them. He had a flustered expression, and his ears were red. I didn't see anything. Chang Yuan seemed to feel that his words weren't convincing enough, so he added, I'll go wipe the floor again. Yeshu. Jin Wang. Jin Wang rubbed his forehead. Come back. A moment later, Jin Wang sat down on the main seat, lifted the teacup in his hand and took a sip. Yeshu and Chang Yuan were in front of him. One of them was standing, while the other was kneeling. They both had their heads lowered. Jin Wang put down his teacup and said lightly, So you heard that my beloved concubine was in Changqian Palace today, so you wanted to use him to help you escape. Chang Yuan. Yes. Chang Yuan had been under house arrest for many days, so he didn't know that Yeshu had already returned to the palace. After he found an opportunity to injure the shadow guards and escape, he heard that His Majesty's new beloved concubine, Anbin, was in Changqian Palace. He wanted to threaten His Majesty to help him escape, but who knew? Ahem. Yeshu coughed softly and said, It's all my fault. It's not your fault, young master. Chang Yuan hurriedly said, It's my fault. Your Majesty can punish me but don't implicate young master. Yeshu also said, Don't. It was my idea to escape. It has nothing to do with him. Shut up. Jin Wang glanced at him and said coldly, You haven't even been punished for escaping. Haven't you learned your lesson yet? Yeshu. Chang Yuan helped the imperial consort escape, injured my shadow guards, and even stabbed the emperor. Jin Wang said slowly, Any one of these crimes is enough for him to be sentenced to death. Yeshu looked at Jin Wang in silence, his gaze filled with grievances. Jin Wang looked away and said calmly, He can avoid death but he can't escape punishment. This person can't stay by your side anymore. But, Jin Wang interrupted, or do you want him to be a palace manservant? To be a palace manservant, then would he needed to be turned into a eunuch? Chang Yuan was a one-track minded person. When he heard this, he didn't even think before saying, If I can stay by young master's side that way, this subordinate is willing. You shut up. Yeshu looked at Chang Yuan, who was dressed as a eunuch. When he thought about how this uniform might truly be his one day, he felt his scalp go numb. No matter what you say, this won't do. Young master. Yeshu had a headache. Of course, he couldn't let little Chang Yuan stay in the palace as a eunuch. That would be too humiliating. Yeshu thought for a moment, then asked Jin Wang, Your Majesty, my family's property, didn't you said it would be returned to me? Jin Wang nodded, yes. Other than the Ye residence, the Ye family still had dozens of shops in the capital. Yeshu said, Chang Yuan, the Ye family properties will be handed over to you in the future. Chang Yuan hesitated, but this subordinate doesn't know. If you don't know, then you'll have to learn. Yeshu said, you're just helping me look after the property outside the palace, or working for me. In short, you have to take good care of those shops. You're not allowed to squander away all of my family's property, understood? Chang Yuan. Yes, this subordinate understands. Jin Wang quickly summoned Gao Jin and ordered him to take care of this matter. Chang Yuan was taken away, leaving only Jin Wang and Yeshu in the palace. Yeshu said, "Thank you, Your Majesty, for your leniency." Just as Jin Wang had said, every crime that Chang Yuan had committed was enough to cost him his life. Yeshu hadn't expected this kind of treatment. "Is that all you need to do?" Jin Wang asked with a smile. Yeshu asked, "What does Your Majesty want?" Jin Wang thought for a moment, then looked out the window. The snow has stopped. "Come with me for a walk." The heavy snow came and went quickly. The dark clouds in the sky dispersed, revealing a sky full of stars and a waning moon. The snow outside Changqian Palace was already deep, and several palace servants were sweeping the snow. When they saw the two of them come out, they all bent their knees to greet them. Jin Wang didn't bring any attendants with him, so he held Yeshu's hand as they slowly walked through the snow. The glazed palace lanterns on both sides of the road were bright, and the long palace corridor seemed to have no end. The red walls and golden tiles were covered with snow, and a red plum tree poked out from the wall. It was covered in snow and ice, and looked like a sparkling and translucent ice flower in full bloom. Yeshu's heart itched when he saw this. When Jin Wang wasn't paying attention, he reached out to touch the snow on the plum tree. "Yeshu!" Jin Wang coldly called out. Yeshu immediately made a decision. He picked up a red plum branch and handed it over. "This is for Your Majesty." He was wrapped in a snow-white fox fur coat, and the hand holding the flower was slender and fair. His fingertips were slightly red from the cold. His eyes were bright and smiling, and the reflection of the beautiful plum blossoms and Jin Wang could be seen in his eyes. Jin Wang looked away with difficulty and took the plum branch. His mouth was dry as he said, "How many times have I told you that you're not allowed to play with snow?" An Omega's body was very weak during pregnancy, and it's very easy for them to catch cold when they touch snow. Yeshu didn't know why Jin Wang was always preventing from doing certain things, but now he understood. Yeshu snorted. It was rare for him now to argue with him. He subconsciously wrapped the fox fur coat tighter around him. "In 10 days, the Yan Kingdom's envoy will arrive in Changlu. You will attend the state banquet in as its empress," Jin Wang said. Yeshu's face was mostly hidden in the snow-white fox fur coat. He tilted his head and looked at him. "Your Majesty, are you talking about the imperial consort or imperial concubine and bin?" Jin Wang looked back at him and said seriously, "I'm talking about you." As long as it was him, it didn't matter what identity he had. Yeshu looked at him for a moment, then looked away. "I understand." The palace servants sweeping the snow in the distance had already disappeared. Yeshu looked at the snow on the side of the road and suddenly called out, "Jin Wang! Do you want to make a snowman?" Jin Wang said, "You're not allowed to. You're not allowed to play with snow." Yeshu imitated Jin Wang's tone and snatched the plum branch from his hand. "So you make it, I'll watch." Jin Wang said, "But I've never made a snowman before." "No problem, I'll teach you," Yeshu said sincerely. "Good luck." However, the king's skill in making a snowman was just as terrible as his cooking skills. After the time it takes to burn a stick of incense, Yeshu looked at the strange white object in front of him. Its eyes and nose were twisted in a strange way, and the corner of his mouth twitched. "It's quite good." Jin Wang patted the snow off his body and said unhappily, "Your tone sounds very forced." Yeshu said honestly, "But it looks very forced." In fact, it wasn't just forced. It was polluting his eyes. And it was polluting such a beautiful snowy scene for no reason. Jin Wang snorted, "This is my first time. It's already very good that it can show its shape. I bet it's definitely better than your first time. Yeshu spread his hands innocently, I've never made a snowman before. Jinwang gritted his teeth, you're not going to teach me anything again. I've seen other people make snowmen like this. Yechienen. I'm not lying to you. Other people make snowmen like this. Who knew that yours would be so ugly? Yeshu wanted to run after saying this, but Jinwang grabbed him. Before he could get angry, Yeshu suddenly crouched down and clutched his stomach. Jinwang's expression changed. What's wrong? Yeshu lowered his head and said in a weak voice, it hurts a little. Jinwang immediately lost all interest in playing around and bent down to pick him up. In the next moment, his face was smashed with snow. It was rare for the emperor to be in such a sorry state. His hair and collar were covered in snow, and his expression was somewhat dazed. He looked especially cute. Yeshu laughed so hard that he fell to the ground. His snow-clad body almost blended in with the snowy scenery. Yechienen. Jinwang brushed the snow off his face and rushed forward to pounce on him. Yeshu was pushed against the palace wall by Jinwang. Jinwang's eyebrows were still covered in snow, which made his facial features look even more handsome. He rubbed the cold tip of his nose against Yeshu's cheek and said coldly, you're so bold now that you dare to go against your superiors. Yeshu was shocked by his coldness and hurriedly begged for mercy, Your Majesty, I was wrong. Jinwang didn't fall for his tricks. He lifted his hand to remove Yeshu's human skin mask and looked down at him condescendingly, since you dared to go against your superiors, you should be prepared to pay the price. Zhen is going to punish you. Yeshu suddenly raised his head and kissed the corner of Jinwang's cold lips. Jinwang's expression froze. The two of them had been playing in the snow for too long, so their bodies were cold. Only their breaths were exceptionally hot, so hot that it was almost scalding. After a while, Yeshu let go of him and smiled slyly, Your Majesty, do you think this apology is enough? Jinwang had long forgotten what he was about to say. He barely maintained his wits about him, don't think. Yeshu kissed him again. This time, it was longer than before. The moonlight was cold, shining on the red walls and white snow, reflecting the two kissing figures at the bottom of the wall. He was still so easy to deal with. Yeshu secretly looked up at Jinwang and silently thought this to himself. However, it did feel different from the past when they were just pretending. He didn't hate it. He even liked it a bit. Just a little. End chapter. Marked by a tyrant after transmigrating. Chapter 30. Jinwang carried Yeshu back to his sleeping quarters and was immediately welcomed by a eunuch. He handed over the plum branch in his hand and ordered, summon the imperial physician. Then he strode into the hall. Jinwang placed Yeshu on a small bed and took off his snow-covered fox fur coat and outer clothes. He took the ginger tea from the eunuch and fed it to Yeshu. Yeshu reached out to take it, I'll do it myself. Jinwang frowned slightly. Yeshu immediately withdrew his hand and obediently drank a mouthful of tea. After Yeshu finished drinking the ginger tea, Jinwang pulled a blanket over him and wrapped him up. How do you feel now? Do you still feel uncomfortable? Yeshu shook his head. He had gone too far just now, and when he walked back, he did feel some pain in his abdomen. Jinwang was so scared that he hurriedly carried him back. However, it was only a moment of discomfort and he was fine now. Jinwang held Yeshu's cold hands in his palms and coldly said, see what happens when Zhen let you play again. Yeshu shrank into the blanket and did not dare to reply. His gaze swept to Jinwang's forearm. Under his sleeve, he could vaguely see some blood-stained bandages. He anxiously said, did your wound open again? Let me see. Don't move. Jinwang held him down and did not take it to heart, this small wound is nothing. He paused and took a step back under Yeshu's resentful gaze, all right, I'll have the imperial physician bandage it again in a moment. Yeshu softly said, N. The eunuch brought over a jade vase. The plum branch that Yeshu had casually plucked earlier was inserted into the vase. The snow on the branch had been melted by the heat from the fire in the room. The delicate petals looked as if they had been washed by water as the melted snow dripped down. Jin Wang placed the jade bottle on the small table that he usually used to handle official business. Yeshu watched his careful movements and burst out laughing. How could this person be so silly? So cute? Jin Wang asked, "What's wrong?" Nothing. Yeshu held back his laughter and shook his head. Your Majesty, this flower won't live for long since it's already plucked. You don't need to keep it. It's fine. Jin Wang gently fiddled with the petals and said in a low voice, this way, it can stay fresh for 2 more days. Yeshu understood what he was implying. Because you gave it to me, I wanted it to live for a few more days. Yeshu's heart skipped a beat. He closed his eyes and moved back a little. He patted the empty seat beside him and said, Your Majesty, please sit here. Jin Wang went over and sat down. Yeshu rolled off the couch and into his arms. Jin Wang hurriedly caught him. Yeshu rested his head on Jin Wang's lap and wrapped his arms around Jin Wang's waist. He smiled and said, This is comfortable. Your Majesty, please let me lie down for a while. Jin Wang said, But I haven't changed my clothes yet. Yeshu grabbed onto his clothes and closed his eyes. No need. I'll just lie down for a while. Jin Wang responded softly. His hand landed on the back of Yeshu's head and stroked it. The hall was silent for a moment. Yeshu suddenly called out, Jin Wang. Yeshu seemed to be a little tired. His voice was weak and very soft. This is the first time someone has played with me in the snow. Jin Wang's movements paused. When I was young, it didn't snow where I was. It would snow once or twice a year, but no one was willing to play with me. When I grew up, it was even harder to find someone to play with me. Jin Wang asked, Was it when you were at the general's residence? Yeshu laughed. No, it wasn't. It was at the orphanage. At that time, his legs were disabled and he couldn't stand up. No one was willing to play with him. Jin Wang didn't continue asking. He said gently, I'll play with you again next year. I'll play with you every year. Yeshu thought for a moment, then shook his head. I think it's better not. He turned over and looked up at him. The snowman you made is too ugly. Jin Wang said seriously, I just need to practice more. It was like cooking. He didn't know how, but he was willing to learn. Yeshu gazed at his handsome face and laughed softly. All right. He suddenly asked, Winter has only just begun this year. Why wait until next year? Jin Wang's expression froze. Yeshu had a rare chance to see the emperor's dazed expression up close. He held back his laughter and continued to ask, You won't let me play with snow these past few days, but next year I can. Why is that? Because. Jin Wang said hesitantly. Yeshu asked, Because of what? Jin Wang didn't answer. His gaze moved to Yeshu's lower abdomen. He had specifically asked the imperial physician. Yeshu's body was thin, so it wasn't easy for his pregnancy to show. He was afraid that it would only start to show a little in April or May. As the pregnancy stabilized, Yeshu's abnormalities would lessen. If he wanted to keep it a secret, he could keep it a secret for a long time. In the beginning, he didn't dare to tell Yeshu because there were many misunderstandings between them. He was worried that this person wouldn't be able to accept it. But now that his relationship with Yeshu had improved, he still didn't dare to tell the truth. If he told the truth now, would this person be angry with him? Would he try to escape again? But if he didn't say anything, it would be unfair to this person. It was rare for the emperor to feel a little timid. He didn't know what to do. Yeshu tugged on his sleeve and urged in a low voice, Your Majesty, why are you ignoring me? It's nothing. Jin Wang looked away and said with difficulty, "The imperial physician said that you haven't been feeling well recently. You need to recuperate for a few months. When you're better in a few months, you'll naturally be able to do whatever you want." Yeshu. This idiot. He had asked that question on purpose. Yeshu was actually in a good mood tonight. Whether it was Jin Wang getting injured because of him or the way he handled Chang Yuan, his impression of him have improved already. He had originally thought that if this person could be honest with him and sincerely apologize, he might consider forgiving him. But now, dream on. Dog Emperor. And Omega's emotions fluctuated greatly during pregnancy. The more Yeshu thought about it, the angrier he got. He snorted and sat up. Jin Wang. Did I say something wrong again? Jin Wang pulled him back. Where are you going? It's none of your business. Yeshu angrily shook off his hand. Just as he got off the bed, he felt a burst of pain in his abdomen. Jin Wang hurriedly supported him. I told you not to walk around. Come and lie down. I don't. Yeshu reached out to push him. At this moment, a eunuch led Imperial Physician Feng in. Your Majesty, Imperial Physician Feng has arrived. The two of them stopped moving. Jin Wang carried him back to the small bed without any explanation. He turned to Imperial Physician Feng and said, his abdomen is hurting. Zhen will have to trouble Imperial Physician Feng to treat him. Imperial Physician Feng glanced at His Majesty's expression and then looked at Yeshu, who was sulking on the small bed. He understood. He had heard that His Majesty had gone to Changqian Palace to sit for a long time. It seemed that it was true. This made the Imperial Consort angry. Imperial Physician Feng sighed in his heart and sat down to take Yeshu's pulse. A moment later, Imperial Physician Feng said, Young Master's body is fine. It's just that he caught a cold today and his emotions are fluctuating. That's why, he's a little unwell. He should be fine after resting in bed for the next few days and maintaining a calm mind. Yeshu glared at Jin Wang and coldly snorted. With a certain someone around, I can't maintain a calm mind. Jin Wang. Imperial Physician Feng also looked at Jin Wang. Jin Wang pressed his forehead and said to Imperial Physician Feng, come with me. The two of them went to the warm room in the side hall. Jin Wang dismissed his attendants and showed Imperial Physician Feng the injury on his arm. Imperial Physician Feng was shocked. Your Majesty, this is... Jin Wang calmly ordered, after we leave this room, Zhen hope that Imperial Physician Feng will pretend that nothing happened. Don't make a fuss. Yes. Imperial Physician Feng sat down to help Jin Wang treat his injury. He had a faint guess in his heart. It seems that today's matter wasn't as simple as he thought. He originally thought that His Majesty went to Changqian Palace to have a beauty in his arms, and the Imperial Consort chased after him outside the palace. The two of them didn't agree and quarreled. This caused the Imperial Consort to feel unwell and almost affected his pregnancy. Now, combined with the injury on His Majesty's arm, he was afraid that not only did the two of them quarrel, they also fought. He didn't know if the Imperial Consort was injured or not. The more Imperial Physician Feng thought about it, the more alarmed he became. On one hand, he admired the Imperial Consort. He was worthy of being the Prime Minister in the past. Even though he was now under someone else's control, he was still so courageous. On the other hand, he couldn't help but feel worried for him. If this continued, how could his body withstand it? It seemed that the abortion medicine must be sent to the Imperial Consort as soon as possible. Jin Wang didn't know what this person was thinking and asked, is the Imperial Consort's body really all right? Imperial Physician Feng raised his head and looked at Jin Wang. The words "you still have the face to ask" were clearly written in his eyes. He shook his head. Young Master's body is fine, but the same can't be said about his heart. Jin Wang. Imperial Physician Feng sighed heavily and earnestly advised, Young master is already 2 months pregnant and can't withstand any provocation. If this official might be so bold to say that what your majesty's doing is really inappropriate. Jin Wang. What did I do? End chapter.